Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you back to the Dynamic Decisions podcast, where we explore strategies that drive successful decision making in the world of business. Why? Because the best decisions come from great conversations. I'm your host, Teasha Cable, CEO of C Model Data, and today we have an extraordinary guest who is making waves in the podcasting and media landscape. Her name is Angel. She is the founder and CEO of Alive Podcast Network. Angel's mission is to amplify Black voices and create a thriving community for creatives through innovative media solutions. Angel, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show. Can you tell us a little bit more about Alive and the podcast network and the vision behind your work in the media space?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me as a guest of this such distinguished podcast. And so Alive was created to really help Black content creators have a place where they could really be truly authentic, speak their true voice, and just be honest with like their thoughts about different things, whether it's parenting, relationships, business, financials, or even politics. And so when we created the platform, it was one to do that, but then also to help them monetize their content. From working in industry for a very long time, going on 25 years, I saw firsthand the disparity between Black content creators and their white counterparts. And so just wanted to create a space that would really level the playing field and where people knew, hey, if I want to listen to a Black hosted show, this is the platform that I need to be a part of.
Well, this is awesome. I mean, number one, thank you for filling a gap, right? Thank you for understanding that this needed to happen and then for being courageous enough to jump out here and do it. And over the course of time that we've known each other, I couldn't imagine that there's a much better person to actually be doing this work. So congratulations to you and all the success that you guys have had. So let's jump right in. I want to talk about some of your extensive experience in media and in podcasting. Can you tell us, what do you believe is the most critical element for organizations to succeed when amplifying underrepresented voices today?
I think number one is being consistent with it. As we've seen throughout history, people will jump out there and be like, oh, we're going to do this. We're going to support. We're going to, jump on and create this opportunity. However, over time, we see that it's always retracted. And so I think it's one thing to say it. It's another thing to activate it. It's another to make it a part of your culture, where this is like a long standing initiative that is not just a box check, but we see the value of making sure that underrepresented voices are not only represented, but have a seat at the table because they bring so much value. They bring a new perspective that if you had no upbringing the way that Black people have had upbringing or Hispanic people, or it's a certain thing that we bring to the table. And I think when you infuse that in the culture of an organization, it has the power to create change.
I like that. I actually think what's interesting about it is this is one area where people can take their values, take what they say, activate it, and then bring it into the culture. If you think about values in general, that's how values should get implemented in a company. So this is just an example of how you would do that. So that's really good. So for the audience, you got it. Say it, activate it, and make it cultural. Good stuff. Can you tell us a little bit more about the importance of creating space for Black creatives in the media industry? How does a live podcast network actually fulfill this very specific need?
Absolutely. So I would say Alive was very intentional from inception. I could have chose any area to focus on or to be a niche. However, I thought that it was imperative that I help people who look like me, right? So for everybody who's like, you're prejudiced against other cultures. No, that's not what it is. For my entire career, I never even really paid attention to the fact that I had never created content for a Black creative. Right. So I was creating content for Larry King and Jane Pauley and so many other prominent white affluent individuals. And it never crossed my mind. There was never, oh my gosh, like, why am I doing this for them? Or however, when I started creating content for Black celebrities and everyday people, I realized that this opportunity don't look like what I was used to seeing. And so because of that, I knew that there was a gap. Before that, I had no idea. I had no idea that Black entertainment or Black creatives were not being treated the same. So it, like they say, you do better when you know better, right? And so because I had experienced that, I knew that I was equipped with the skill set to create change in that area. I was created to do just that and help other companies see the value and be able to activate. How can I leverage the skill sets that you have? How can I amplify this in a more intentional way? So it's not like, we got to make something completely new and different for Black people. No, we're not looking for a handout. We're just looking for the opportunity so we can show you what we can do.
Yeah, I think this is great. And the key word here, everybody, is intentional, right? And being intentional doesn't exclude anyone, right? It just means having focus. And we could think of a number of things where we need to actually have focus, especially in the world of business. So, Angel, staying now kind of focusing in the world of business and taking a decision forward approach here, do you have a framework that you use for making high stakes decisions in your own business, especially when you don't have all the information?
So typically, I lean on other people. Um, I and you know this firsthand. So for everyone who does not know, Teasha has been an amazing advisor from the beginning of Alive when we were in Techstars. And so the power of a network where you can rely on other people to share insights. And so I've been fortunate to have individuals that I can lean on that indirectly mentor me through those different high stakes situations. So I've been fortunate to at least have that.
So what you're saying is when you don't know, right, there are people who do know, and you set your ego aside and you get the help that you need because at the end of the day, the goal is to be successful, right?
It's definitely phone a friend.
Phone a friend. I like that a lot. So now when you start after you've kind of like gotten the advice that you need to get and you've moved on and you've actually decided to do something, how do you measure the success of the things that you're doing? How do you go about saying, I took an initiative to do something? Like you launched the podcast, and I'm pretty sure you've got some other exciting initiatives going. Those things, when you're doing them, how do you come back and go, this was a good idea? This really worked. This really moved the business ahead. Are there any particular metrics that you're looking for?
So for us, what I try to do, and I've really been intentional with this, even in my book, The 30-Day Visionary Archangel, it's setting those goals and implementing KPIs. So typically I've started doing like quarterly KPIs. Some people do them monthly, some people do them weekly. I do quarterly because I need time where you can see the difference. And so, but I think everybody has to be able to identify what that looks like for them. What does that goal setting look like? And what does the analytics look like after you've set that time frame of what the outcomes are that you want to see? And so for me, that's kind of like what I've been doing. If there was an electronic system that could help me, I would definitely be open to that. But right now, it's paper and pen, me and the board writing out what those KPIs are going to be per quarter.
You know, the best processes start manually. I don't care what anybody says, right? Paper and pen is at the beginning, but it's you always work it out and flesh it out, and then you can use tech after that. So real good. But tell me, I want to understand a little bit more about how you might assess success for creators and listeners because it puts you in a two-sided sort of marketplace in what you do. And I know some of our other listeners also have two-sided marketplaces. How do you measure success in both of those areas, creators and listeners?
Very differently. Okay, so I'm going to start with our creators, right? Success is their success, right? It's helping more people find their content where they are able to have more listeners. They are feeling like their listenership, like I said, is expanding. They're able to monetize their content, seeing additional revenue come in. Those are two of the things that I think are very direct indicators of growth and of success. On top of that, a lot of our hosts use their podcast as a lead generator. So even if none of the other two are necessarily occurring, but they're seeing numbers come in with the amount of people who are doing business with them, that's another indicator. So being clear on why are you starting your podcast? What is success for you? Because success isn't the same for everybody in that regard. On the other side of our marketplace, it's opening it up where listeners know that we exist, right? So seeing growth in the amount of downloads in our app, being able to see that they are receiving something that they were missing, that we're filling a void. We are able to provide them reflections of themselves when they are listening to certain content, right? And so measuring that success is talking to them, surveys, hearing back from them, but also being able to look at our metrics from our downloads to say, okay, well, what peaked growth here? What do we need to keep doing to keep this happening? And honestly, like sometimes it's hard to sit down and measure both, to evaluate both, but you got to do it if you want to continue to grow.
Yeah. You just talked about something that's fundamental for any business, which is that the customer is really at the center. So you've got two brands of customers, but in each case, you said their success is success, right? So certainly you can measure downloads, but there's going to be a certain effectiveness of those podcasts that you end up determining whether or not you're successful. And then in the case, you had some very good ones, helping them find their content. That's like if you're a business owner in any other context, you need to have your secret sauce, right? You need to understand what your unique value is in the world. And so you just laid out some really good ways that you should be thinking about your customer and the value that you bring to them with them as the center. So that's good, good, good stuff. So as you continue to grow, how are you going to make sure that your team is continuously developing and adapting to meet the evolving needs of the creative community? And I want you to think about this from the lens of the decisions that you're making.
So I think that is a very important question, but it's also almost kind of like where we are right now at a very pivotal moment. And so for us, some of the things that we're looking at is okay, well, we've been doing it this way. We're a 3-year-old company. What if we did X? What if we did Y? And forming collaborations where we don't have to be completely all in. We're all in if we say we're going to do it, but we don't have to do all of the building. We can have those collaborative relationships where it's still available and it's still through us, but it's less monetary investment on our end, right? And so I think what I've been intentional with right now is speaking with my team even before I make the decisions. I think in larger well, definitely in larger corporations, the information just comes down and you're expected to execute. Because we are a startup small business, I want to engage my team so I get buy-in from them, where they feel like they're invested in what those decisions are. And then I think they perform better when you operate from that stance. Making sure that everybody is clear, like, hey, we're going to try this and we're going to see how it goes, but making sure that as we are maneuvering, trying new things and growing, that our team feels like they're growing with us and not just like, oh, here's something new that we're trying this month.
So you're speaking right to this idea. You test, you iterate, you try it, you fail, right? You win. See, the key right is like measuring, making sure that you make a better decision the next time. You're tracking your assumptions. But you spoke to the human part of this too, where you said get your team to buy in. So I know you distinguish between what happens in a large and a small organization, but I actually think that the future of collaboration is just more transparent. And I think that we would find that buy-in is going to be necessary in any size organization. You said buy-in, you said investment, and then you said that increases performance. I mean, let's just think about what that means for a company listening. Those are some nuggets of wisdom, people. Some wisdom. I like it a lot. Hey, for the audience, if you think about your own experiences in media or community engagement, what are are some decisions that you've made that significantly impact your ability to amplify voices? Share your thoughts with us. Do it on LinkedIn or other social media. Use Dynamic Decisions Podcast. Let us know what you're thinking. Okay, Angel, let's switch a little bit and talk about leadership a little bit more in depth, right? So you're a leader in the media space. What are some of the strategies that you're deploying these days to really build up the creativity within your organization, and this would also increase collaboration?
It's so much right now. I feel like there's ebbs and flows, especially when you're creative. And when I say this is my season, this is my season.
Let's go.
For the creative collaborations, right? And so I would say in the last 2 weeks, everything that I have touched on, every phone call that I have had has been around forming collaborative partnerships so that we both are winning, right? And so to that point, we're starting a television sector. Right.
Let's go.
Thank you. So, I mean, and that's kind of been like this, like, should I do it? Should I not? Should I do it? Should I not? Like, before you about to double dutch,
Right.
hesitate a little bit before you frankly jump all in. And that's what it's been like. But I'm ready. But I think for anyone listening and you feel like you're in that double dutch, like, when is the right time? Take the time to just evaluate where you are and what will happen, or what are the pros of and the negatives to potentially taking that leap, and then just go for it. Whether it's like I'm all in or I got to step away from it now. Just own whatever decision that looks like. I think we also are in talks with one of the largest urban radio platforms to be able to collaborate with them. And so, again, I think so many times it's this big fish, little fish mentality. And if you work with the big fish, they going to eat the little fish. Like, why can't we all bring something to the table and everybody the value in collaborating, right? And then we've partnered with a tech company who puts on annual events. And so we've been invited in to host our first a live podcast summit from that relationship this winter. And so when you take me out of it and make it what is going to be most valuable for my customers, for the business growth, for success, you just got to collaborate.
You just gotta collaborate. Let's everybody say it together. You just gotta collaborate, okay? I appreciate that. I'm gonna take us back. I want to talk a little bit. So I'm a big fan of the Harvard Business Review. So I've been doing this lately on the podcast, completely off script, by the way, but it's just a fantastic little segment. There's in this review, they present a problem and then they present a path forward. And I want to get your thoughts on both the problem and the path forward. Okay. So here's how they state the problem. It's called an idea in brief. So amid economic uncertainty, corporate belt tightening, and efforts to dismantle diversity efforts through both court rulings and legislation, the push for diversity, equity, and inclusion has slowed. Given the high rates of disengagement and burnout, especially for those in historically marginalized groups, companies need a new approach. So, the path forward. So, that's what they prescribe as the problem here. Let's see what they say is the path forward. To bring advocates and critics of diversity together, leaders must orient around a broader goal, creating the conditions for all workers to flourish. Organizations must foster four freedoms at work: the freedom to be, the freedom to become, the freedom to fade, and the freedom to fail. Currently, the four are unevenly distributed, but interventions such as encouraging individual allyship, implementing strength based development programs, and enabling flexible work can make organizations safer and more welcoming for all. I'd love to get your thoughts on this.
Girl, I don't know. Okay. So going back to the problem, I feel like what they are essentially saying is they need to infuse more multicultural. Is that accurate?
I think what they're saying is, yeah, do for all and don't say special groups. It's kind
Right.
of getting.
But are all a part of the organization already?
Yeah, so this is assuming you're talking about all in the organization.
Okay.
Yep.
So do I think that there need to be some special privileges? No. I don't think that there should be special privileges. However, which is why I asked the question that I asked in regards to who is currently a part of the organization. If it's not a bunch of different culture groups than what like, it's the same, and it would infuse the same problem that we've been seeing, at least here in America. So, I think before you can solve something, you at least have to have them as part of the organization. Do I think that those 4 things that they suggested are helpful? Run them by me one more time.
Let's run by you. Okay. Uh, They said organizations must foster 4 freedoms at work: the freedom to be, the freedom to become, the freedom to fade, and the freedom to fail.
Absolutely not. So I'm just supposed to let you wander aimlessly and not know what your job is? Like,
Right.
no. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, so me thinking about the problem, that was I kinda got stuck there for a little bit, like, well, who's really a part of the organization? But regardless, if we talking about these 4 freedoms as a business owner,
Yes.
have the freedom to be. So your freedom to be is, oh, you wanna come to work whenever you wanna come to work. I'm gonna come to work in sweatpants, or I wanna come to work in my pajamas, and we are meeting with no, we're not doing that. To be
Okay.
yes, I want you to become all that you can be, and I want to empower you that you feel like you have the freedom to become the best version of you. Now, if you want to become a drug addict, I'm supposed to support that? No. That's not no, sorry. What was the other 2?
Then you have the freedom to fade and the freedom to fail.
Okay, freedom to fade to me means, like, not perform. At least I'm okay with the freedom to fail because at least that means you tried. You put forth some effort and it just did not reach the expectation that you hoped for. But the freedom to fade to me is kinda like, yeah, like, I'm just not gonna put forth any effort. I'm just gonna fade to the back, or I'm just gonna phase myself out and sit here and collect the check. No, we're not doing that.
I think it's an interesting the whole problem, and it's I brought it up because it parallels with the conversation on the even why alive is alive, right? And but it's fascinating when you start trying to apply that concept to a work environment. We know that a rising tide floats all
Yeah.
boats, so we do need to make sure that all that also includes your people who might be disadvantaged in multiple ways. There's learning disabilities in the workplace, physical disabilities, skin color isn't the only thing, right? But if we try to broad strokes these things and say things like your path forward is the freedom to be, well, in the context of work, right? Like there's all these different nuances that I think would need to appropriately be applied. But thank you for kind of jumping in there. I like to bring these ideas and brief out because these are business concepts that are being written in books, right? Like this is a book that I'm reading from, right?
Right.
And it poses as a problem and a path forward. And so we have to remember that paths forward are not always one way, right? We have to consider the uniqueness of the organization when we consider paths forward.
And to that, I wanna just make a point that the individuals who are writing these books and these briefs, sometimes you have to have diversity in those conversations so everybody sees a reflection of them and the outcomes that you want for the organization. If they are constantly being written by the same types of individuals, there will never be any color brought into the equation.
So that's a great point. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for jumping in on that with me. Hey, I want to explore something. This is actually like my favorite part of this thing. And so I'm going to figure out your decision-making persona. I'm going to ask you 4 questions. Okay. And each of the 4 questions, you can give a number between 0 and 100%. And that represents how much you identify with that way of thinking about a decision. But you only get 100% total. So across all 4 questions, you can't exceed 100% in how you answer it. Okay. So here is your first question. Oh, the last thing is, and I will tell you after you answer your percentage, I'll tell you what the persona is called. All right. So we're considering some new content for our network. How are we going to ensure that it aligns with the needs and aspirations of the audience? How much do you identify with that line of questioning, that type of decision making? 0 to 100%.
We want to start anew.
So I'll read it again. So we're considering some new content for our network. How are we going to ensure it aligns with the needs and aspirations of the audience? Would you ask questions like that?
Okay, maybe. Okay, can I answer? Can I hear all the questions and then no? I'll say, I'll say 15%. 15.
Now we're reflecting on last year's content initiatives. What specific trends or insights have we uncovered that can significantly influence our next strategy?
25.
25%. That one's called a planner. That's one of our super popular ones too. So that's a planner. Good. We're evaluating our previous content decisions. What key lessons have we learned that fundamentally changed our decision-making process?
I'll say 5%.
Good. That's called a counter. Was counting it up. What did we do? How much was it? How many of them did we do? Counting. Okay, here's your next one. This is the last one. As we're formulating these new initiatives for the network, what specific data points are we going to rely on to validate our decisions?
Okay, so I guess whatever's left.
Yes, you have 55 left. Well, 55. So that's your data driver. So you're saying, for the most part, I'm going to make data driven decisions, which actually blends really well with your idea of leveraging your network. So what happens is that's a data collection process for you. I go through and I talk to people. I find out what some of their thoughts and ideas are. They may have some data and information. Then there's the data that you're collecting. Your company talks about your KPIs, and then you decide. That's good stuff. So there's no right, wrong answer here. The whole idea is to make balanced decisions, and it will change over time, right? At different times. So you are 15% feeler, 25% planner, 5% counter, and 55% data driver. So that's your decision persona. Kind of cool stuff. It's my fun.
That was fun.
Exercise. Makes you think. Okay, so here's my last question for you. If you could give one piece of advice to an inspiring leader in the media industry, what would it be?
Own your voice. I think a lot of media leaders in the industry and outside and who want to be, I think a lot of times they have to conform to industry standards to have the job that they think they want. However, I have seen time and time again, the people who have done that are unfulfilled because they feel as though they really can't be. They really can't share their true gifts. They really can't be authentic because they are limited to these parameters that their organizations that they want to work at have make them fall within or stay within. And so I would just say, like, just own your voice, be authentic. And even if that is what you really truly want and that's where you want to be, go for it, but still find a place that your voice can be heard because your voice is needed.
That is powerful, powerful, powerful advice. So thank you so much, Angel. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Your expertise amplifying voices and empowering communities is absolutely inspiring. Can you share with our leaders where they can learn more about you, more about the Alive Podcast Network, more about where to find you on TV, all that good stuff?
Yes, so definitely you can follow the Alive Podcast Network on all major platforms at Alive Podcast app. You can also download our app from your favorite platform, Alive Podcast Network. We are also, like I said, going to have some amazing things coming up. So definitely follow us on LinkedIn. We have a lot of information that come out there. And if you want to personally follow me, you can visit my website, angelnicole.us. And then you can also follow me at the Angel Nicole, TH.
Thank you. Thank you. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Remember, the best decisions come from great conversations. If you've enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to subscribe it, rate it, share it with your network. Let's keep the conversation going on social media using Dynamic Decisions Podcast. And until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep leading with purpose.